open. Chicago with the lead.
North, Batista with the catch.
Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life. Hand down, man down.
Yeah, I can see how disrespectful he's being right now.
No, I went to Temecula and brought you some dirt.
Yeah, that's a technical.
Mama, there goes that man.
It's so good to hear that music again because that means the bounce is back. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Bounce, brought to you proudly by Bite Size Sports. I am Kev. With me is the next Rambo, from what I know, James. Hey, man. Hey, I saw you with that bow in your hand. It looks pretty good, man. It looks pretty good. So, James, welcome back, sir. How were you? How was your trip?
The trip was awesome. For people that don't know, I went out and did an 3D archery shootout in the mountains, and it's something, man. It's the second day, Kev, we walked, I think my buddy's watch said 99 flights of stairs and over 16,000 steps. Needless to say, when we got to the bottom, there were a few nice cold ones had when we got done because we were fried. It was awesome, though. It's awesome. Colorado out there's awesome. It was a fantastic time.
Sounds like the kind of day where afterwards, for a couple days, it's hard to get in and out of chairs.
Yes.
It's like, come on, Hammies, help me out. So yeah, let it be known that we here at the Bounce are athletes as well. All right. So that don't ever forget it. We come from a place of knowledge. So welcome back, James. It's good to have you.
I'm glad you're back, man.
We have missed you here, and we've got a decent slate here. A lot of stuff to talk
about.
A
lot to catch up on.
And audience, while you're here, thank you for watching. We've already got some interaction. I appreciate that. We love to see your comments in the chat. Let us know what your questions are. I will give you a brief run of show. It's actually always on the bottom. You might notice I don't normally do that. A lot of other shows do that. They give you their run of show. I've always just put it on the bottom. But, hey, we'll talk about it real quick right now. We're going to talk about the Rockets. We're going to talk about the Pacers. We're going to talk about Summer League. We're going to talk about free agency recap, talk about our favorites going into next year. And I have a bonus question for James at the end. So if you guys have any topics, if any of that excites you, or if you want us to talk about another team, you'd better get a comment in there. That's the only way to guarantee that we talk about what you want to hear. So I don't know if there's any Minnesota Timberwolves fans out there watching that want to work their way.
I know one.
You're going to have to do some work there, pal. All right. You're not part of the agenda today, but we don't mind. I'm happy to talk about your team anytime. Anyway, James, so I'm going to start with you. We've got just an open slate, free agency recap. Now we're going to talk about who we think the best free agent signing or re-signing was later in the show. So I'll ask you to keep that one in your pocket if you don't mind. But what are some of the biggest moves that you want to talk about, or is it just a particular team? Like, let's, for instance, say the Lakers did a lot of work so far. Maybe we should talk about the Suns at some point, who did sign our boy, friend of the show, Bol. He is a Phoenix Sun.
They did, yeah.
So they're all in.
They only have the money to sign people like me and you, so we do have a chance. They have spent it all.
Hey, mid-range mafia. Listen, if there was ever a time for me to get in the league, it's that Phoenix Suns team.
I would not. It would be bad news there. A little under the radar, but maybe depending on how you look at it. I love what the Bucks did because I think if they'd have lost either Middleton or Brook Lopez, it actually could have led to them losing Giannis in a few years. Like, I think they had to bring him back, and I don't know if there was ever any chance they were leaving. It really didn't seem like it. I mean, Brook Lopez was rumored to the Lakers at one point.
Yeah, Brook was the only one that I kind of like. Chris Middleton, I think we might have talked about this on the Bounce previously, where I think we both thought that Chris Middleton was just going to restructure, that was the whole idea of him not taking that option. But the Brook Lopez one I thought was a possibility because so many teams can use what he does that I could have
So
seen a
good
team
defensively.
with more money. And then, not that this would have been correct and I would have been sad, but I could see a general manager looking at the growth of Bobby Portis and saying, okay, unfortunately for Brooke, he's kind of trained his own replacement here. And Bobby Portis can hit that. He's added a little range to his game. So I was worried that the Bucks were going to be willing to let Brooke walk. And so I am glad. I'm glad for that one as well.
Yeah. I was very happy with what they did. And short deals, 2 and 3 years. Chris Middleton got a lot of money, but if you can get him healthy, he's so important. The problem is he hasn't been. Brook Lopez doubles his salary, so good for him at age 35, still making money. Just the way he plays defense at that level. He's huge. He's so important for them.
A
so
three ball doesn't hurt.
No, yeah, exactly. The career renaissance. I love what – love's not the right word. The Bucks had to do it, and I'm happy they did because I think if they didn't, they risked losing their franchise cornerstone.
Listen, I still think there's in multiple iterations of our multiverse, I believe the Bucks were in the finals this year. We just live in the universe where Giannis hurt his back and Mike Budenholzer had to deal with that unfortunate family situation, which I personally could not have coached a team through. So just to be clear, it's kind of unfortunate, the situation that led to him losing his job, because you can't say he didn't get out coached, but you should be able to understand why.
You should understand, why he wasn't fully there.
It would be like a boxer trying to fight Mayweather or Tyson and then having to deal with that, because what we're talking about is Eric Spoelstra is one of the best in-game and in-series adjustment makers in the NBA currently. So, yeah, you're talking about a prize fighter not being able to have his head in the game throughout fight week leading up. And so that's kind of what happened there. So I genuinely think, and we will talk more in depth about this later on as we talk about our potential favorites. But yeah, I think the Bucks are the team to beat in the East so long as they brought everyone back. So if they brought everyone back like they did, injuries are a big concern for me with this team, because much like the deepest team in the Western Conference last year, the deepest team in the Eastern Conference can't stay healthy, which is why they need all that depth, because we didn't see Connaughton a lot. We didn't see Chris Middleton. We didn't see Ingles for a while. So the Bucks have all of this depth, but it doesn't really help it helps you get through those injuries, but it doesn't help you as much.
When they're all hurt, it doesn't help at all.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, we've got one. What is Morey going to settle for in the Harden situation? Okay, that's a good one, because we had this as one of the guys to talk about who hadn't moved yet. So thank you, Lee, for getting in here in the chat. So let's do this. We are going to go back to, I want to talk about Phoenix, and I want to talk to you about the Marcus Smart Porzingis trade, because I think there's some good stuff to talk about there. But let's talk about Harden. He's probably going to be on the move, right? But you said something to me in the pre-show that I thought was interesting. It sounds like no one wants him. You want to elaborate on that?
What is he on? He's third team in 3 years, going to be fourth in 4. Like, he's not prime Harden anymore. He's not Houston Rockets Harden anymore. You saw some glimpses of him in the playoffs, but obviously it wasn't enough. That team's built around Joel. He's got a mega contract. It seems like every offseason, like we were hearing about the Rockets, we were hearing about him wanting to go home, go back there and all this. And I think the owners or GMs are finally catching on. Like, maybe we don't want this dude. He's never won anything.
Not only has he never won anything, he's had some very epic collapses in certain play.
Yes.
It's more than just he hasn't won anything. He's been in position to win things many a time and has a history of performing very poorly in game 6s and game 7s, stuff like that. So,
and that's the thing. Like, why would you? I don't know why you'd want him. I really don't. And I think that destroyed the market. I think everybody knows that, because nobody wants to give anything up for him. So I think you have one team in the Clippers looking into it, and I don't think they have a ton, because they had traded Paul George just a few years ago. So I don't think they have a young, a lot of picks and stuff like that. Those are all gone. So I wouldn't want him, man. He doesn't play defense. He's inefficient now. Like, nothing. No thanks, brother.
You are right, and Lee is right. He wants to be a Clipper. It sounds like that's the only place he wants to go. Well, okay, that's a rumor that I've heard. All right, I
That's the
can't
rumor.
source that, but that's the rumor that I've heard. I think the Clippers maybe would consider it. The thing that the Clippers have that might entice Philadelphia is a lot of depth, and so they may have pieces that they can convince Daryl Morey, all right, you put these guys around Joel Embiid. So I'm thinking of what about Mann, right? He kind of quickly just fell out of their rotation, right? They traded him they acquired him from Denver, and then what? He didn't, and that's maybe a guy on the other end. You could tell yourself, okay, this guy has star power. He's got some potential. So maybe Harden for Mann, and then it's a lot of first round pick swaps and second round picks like that. You're right. The draft capital is not going to be there. So the thing with the Clippers, as they were who I referenced earlier when we were talking about Milwaukee as one of the deeper teams, because I talked about all year, I thought, especially after the trade deadline, and it's unfortunate to see Eric Gordon get, cut like that, but they were very deep. And so they do have players potentially. They might have the right package that could entice Philly, especially if Philly considers that they have a James Harden that doesn't seem to want to play for them anymore.
Because we both know disgruntled James Harden gets real thick.
Yeah, I've seen the memes. I've got the memes of James Harden opening up a closet and there's a fat suit sitting there. And it's just, I get it.
And that's for the 76ers. Then you have to think, like, they were in the playoffs last year. They were high seed. They want to, like I said, picks, but they probably want players they want players.
No, they want players.
Tyrese Maxey taking a big jump or something, like.
Speaking of, did you hear the interview that Joel Embiid did? It was at a film festival. I believe it was with Rich Paul. I can't remember who was doing I did a video on this. Bite Size Sports Podcast. Go check it out if you're interested in our podcast on Spotify, Apple iTunes, all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Apple Podcasts, iTunes. Joel Embiid said at this point in his career, he wants to win a championship. He said whether it's with Philly or somewhere else.
Yes, I did see that. Yes.
Not to say my whole and I shouldn't do this because this is bad business. I'm going to summarize that podcast for you right now. But my thoughts on it were that's not a threat for this year. But if the Sixers don't at least get to an NBA Finals this year, I believe, even though he has years on his contract, that Joel Embiid will be ready to leave. So you're right. Not interested in picks if you're Philly. And in 1 or 2 years, Joel Embiid is almost 30, right? You've got him. I think he's under contract for 3 or 4 more years.
Yeah, they just signed the big one.
So that's a realistic window. This guy, we know what the case is with big guys, especially a guy like Embiid who hits the floor as often as he does. Big guys' joints are already questionable.
He had foot problems coming out of college too.
This guy's knees and feet, he hits the court more than soccer players hit the field. All right. Like he is constantly on the ground. And 4 years at best is your window, right? And then we get into the Patrick Ewing era, maybe, or the Hakeem Olajuwon era of them being journeymen coming off the bench with no cartilage left in their knees. So if in my opinion, the Sixers want players, they've got to have something in return that's going to help them with Embiid right now. So I think maybe if with the Clippers, then it's a 3-team deal. I don't know who else gets involved, but at that point, you got to be looking at, I don't know, some middle of the road. Maybe the Bulls, right? The Bulls are going to be, spoiler alert, the Bulls are going to be a contender in a lot of my option. When I think of teams that are going to be good 3rd-team options, I'm going to think about Toronto and Chicago, right? I'm going to think about teams.
So the 2 teams we said should blow it up. Those 2 teams.
Yeah, teams
one of those teams that let their starting free agent point guard walk away to sign a max contract elsewhere. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yep, that sold when they or bought when they sort of should have sold, and now I can't believe I had to sit through all those silly Pascal Siakam to Indianapolis rumors. That was ridiculous. That shows you the state of this industry. That many people could speak that confidently and believe that was a real thing.
He's still coming.
It's not. I mean, I will be. I will look like an idiot. I'll probably do a shoey. I'll pull a Nate and drink a beer out of my own shoe if that happens. It makes no logical sense
Shout out, Nate.
that the Pacers would ever do that, but keep writing those articles. I love it.
Oh,
Let's see.
baby.
Lee says the Sixers are not going to even get to the Eastern Finals, even if they should get Dame. What do you think about that, James?
I'd be sad. I don't want to see Dame in Philadelphia. There's one place and one place only Damian Lillard belongs, and that's Miami.
Party in the city where the heat is on. Yep.
It'd be. No, I don't think they can get it done because I don't think they have the assets and the young talent and everything. Be pretty wild seeing him and Joel playing together.
It would. That would be fun. Those two together, I think, could, depending on
damage.
Yeah, exactly. They could do some damage depending on who's around. In my daydream, in my fantasy casting of this, Tobias Harris is probably sent back to Portland. He could use
Maxey would be gone. Harris would be Tobias.
Oh, that's the thing. Actually, you're right, because in my
Maxey would have to go.
I was trying to think. Pardon me. I was trying to think of a situation where they could keep Maxey, but that you're right. He's probably
he would be the centerpiece of that trade.
The centerpiece.
If that was to happen, yeah. So you'd have. Let's see if I can get their roster up here.
Yeah, I think I agree. While you pull that up, I agree with your assessment, Lee, that the Sixers are not going to the Eastern Conference Final. Oh, wait. Yeah, well, maybe the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe. But that's as far as I would go. I don't see them getting to the finals without some kind of crazy move that I don't see coming. I
always forget PJ Tucker went there like a dummy.
Yeah, it's easy to forget, but yeah, it's also that was the whole.
Oh, they signed Patrick Beverley. They're fine.
Yeah, they got Pat Bev. He's gonna. I mean, they will love him there.
Yeah,
you know,
they signed Montrezl, re-signed Montrezl Harrell, which he's fallen off a cliff over the last 4 years, which is wild. $6 million a year to nothing. Yeah, this roster would be.
It's not going to do it.
It would be very bare without Maxey. Woof.
And that will transition me into. So we've talked about the Bucks already, who may be a favorite in the East. We're currently talking about the Sixers, who we're kind of feeling like won't be a favorite in the East. Let's talk about Boston for a while, because a lot of people now are very hyped about what their roster looks like with the addition of Kristaps Porzingis. I'm going to save my feedback here, James. I want to let you just have a clean slate. What are your thoughts about the trade in general? I don't subscribe to the idea that there has to be a winner and a loser for a trade. See Kings, Pacers, Sabonis, or Halliburton.
Exactly.
So I'm not asking.
Most of the time there is. Most of the time there is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying there has to be a winner, but if you think someone won, let me know. What are your thoughts in general about Grizzlies, Celtics? And then at some point, I do want to talk about whether we think this puts Boston in the driver's seat in the East.
I will come out and say it right at the start that I think both teams are winners here, or it's either winners or just neutral for me. Porzingis sneakily had the best season of his career last year. The problem was he was playing in Washington and nobody watches them.
Yeah. You know my theory on that, but yeah, it's correct.
He played in 65 games, which is the second most of his career, most since his second year in the league after all those Dallas years where he was hurt and first year in Washington.
Put that one in your pocket, folks.
Let's see. He had career high in points, 23 points a game. 8.4 rebounds per game, career high 3-point percentage. I saw that too. Trev, I'm not even sure who's playing on the team. I haven't even really looked at it. He career high 3-point percentage, 38.5 on 5.5 shots per game. He's always been good defensively, so that'll offset the loss of Grant Williams. I'm very intrigued and interested by it to see it. He's developed into a lot better post player too. He used to not be any good down there. He's actually gotten solid. He's still young. Kev, this is a wild one. So he's played in the league 6 seasons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
forever.
It says
Phil Jackson drafted him, right?
He's in his 8th season. He was drafted in 2015. He's only 27 years old.
Yeah. It's
He was
do
so
the
young.
injuries make him feel older? Because it does kind of feel
Probably,
like he's
because
been around.
I mean, there was the Dallas years, he played 57, 43, 34, 17. Jesus, every single year it went down. Or then 17 was with Washington. He never panned out as Luka's sidekick like they wanted him to.
No,
I'm intrigued by it. I hate that they had to give up Marcus Smart, who, whatever you feel about him, he's kind of the heart and soul.
mm-hmm.
I felt like he was the heart and soul. I really like the other trade better that got vetoed, the one that had Malcolm Brogdon in it.
Yeah,
I in that scenario,
That was much better.
I thought the Celtics were fleecing them. Like I
Yeah.
thought they were about to get away with highway robbery.
and instead,
They
yeah,
didn't. I
they
didn't
did.
have physical. Didn't his physical or something break that one?
Exactly. It was a physical, which is concerning. It's always been the concern with Brogdon.
Yep.
He's one of the what ifs. I wish he'd have panned out for the Pacers. Don't get me wrong. I liked Brogdon. He's one of those second round pick guys that made it in Milwaukee. And you think about that too. What might have been? He went and got his money from Indiana, and then didn't quite pan out. Now here he is, and
Yep.
hopefully he'll still be a valuable part of their team in the long run. But that failed physical is quite a concern, and that's why it's why part of me was glad that the Pacers moved on from him. Meanwhile, Naismith's playing pretty well in Indiana. Don't look now.
Yep.
But it's just another trade that the Pacers might have won. It's the only thing they can win is trades.
I don't know. I think they're going to win some games next year. I think they're pretty good.
We will see. I hope so. So what about? Go ahead.
I guess the Memphis side of it, I like.
Yep,
I
there you
do
go.
like. I really like Marcus Smart coming over there. They're going to need him. There was Jaws out for the first 25 games. Like he's a very important piece to help them
At
survive.
least, yeah.
And then they give him. I mean, he's a dog. He replaces Dylan Brooks, and
then some.
Much better offensive player.
Yep.
Much better offensive player. So
And a better locker room guy, right? Marcus Smart is
you don't
a
hear
tough
any.
guy. He brings that same toughness and attitude without the pardon my choice of phrase here, but the stupidity.
But I was like thinking of clownishness, but I couldn't think of the right word.
There you go. Yeah,
Brevity.
He's a little more reserved. He's a little more reined in. He's an adult. He's a professional.
And he's probably good for these guys because you've got the jaw situation. You've got Desmond Bain and what's the defensive player of the year?
Jaren Jackson.
They're all young. They're young guys. So he probably helps a lot in that locker room.
If they've got Steven Adams over there, Marcus Smart and Steven Adams, like that's a good locker room nucleus there.
Yes.
That's a new culture, and it stays gritty. It stays tough, right?
It grinds back, baby.
It sticks to exactly. This is more Zach Randolph and Tony Allen than it is, what they've currently been dealing with. So I do really like this for the Grizzlies. I think Marcus Smart. I don't know about off the court, but I think definitely in the locker room and on the court, Marcus Smart is going to be a perfect running mate for Ja Morant as far as helping him mature into that guy, and then being somebody that can just make Ja's life a little easier on defense because Marcus Smart is going to be guarding the best ball handler now. Marcus Smart and Desmond Bain, you might be able to hide Ja defensively a little bit more, save his energy for the offense. Now you said 25 games. Hopefully it's 25 games. And I mean, obviously that's what the suspension is, but we just don't know when he'll be game ready with time off like that. We expect he'll be good to go, but
you never know. It could be, I probably think it's going to be 30 games.
Yeah. Or I think they'll do what we saw, Jonathan Isaac when he came, not necessarily because it's injury, but guys get brought back. We're in the age of they're not getting rushed in. They're going to be on minute restrictions and stuff like that. So they're going to need him early on in the season. So it'll be good for them. And are there any other, we should talk a little bit about Phoenix just because I don't think we've talked about the Chris Paul and Bradley Beal. We talked about all of that, but they've added a couple of guys since then. Maybe we should talk about the Lakers too before we move on. But maybe spoiler alert, unless any of those are your big winners.
One is, but I'm going to talk about the one that's not.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Phoenix has done a pretty good job filling out with no money. Phoenix just
Bobo.
they signed our Bobo. This is a Bobo Stands account.
Yep.
The big steal with them is they got Eric Gordon to sign a minimum deal when he was making $20 million a year with the Clippers when he got cut. So that's a huge deal. Like he had some. He's in the lineup at the end of games. It's a huge get.
Yep.
I thought trading Campaign was interesting considering that they don't have a point guard, but it sounds like Bradley Beal's going to be. There he is. Let's pose this question since John's watching. What is going to happen with the center situation for the Timberwolves, because they're not keeping all three.
Ooh.
And they just re-signed Naz Reid, so that's obviously he is going to make it.
Cat says they are going to do all three. I think.
What are they going to do?
That might have been a butt crack sports tweet. You got to be careful out here on Twitter.
Butt crack sports gets you all the time.
Yep.
If you're Draymond Green, the fake NBA Central account gets you.
Yeah, NBA Cantrell.
Yeah.
What's the other one? It used to be. Oh, it was. Pardon my French, guys, but it was Ballsack Sports. I had to mute that account because it started posting like way too many Kim Kardashian appreciation tweets. Got
caught
real
in
weird.
got caught in the algorithm, and it's popping up on your stuff. And I hate when that happens. You're like, what the F is this?
Oh, and somehow Kendrick Perkins has a job, even though he falls for a new fake Twitter account each month. But
awesome.
There we go. Bite-sized
There it
Vikes. John's got his answer for us. Towns trade is the only way to improve the team externally. What do you think about that, James?
I'm not a Towns guy. I'm not a believer. So I'm okay with it. Now he is going to change the way the game is played. He's on record as saying that. I'm wrong and he's right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd get rid of him. The problem is I don't think his values. I think it's very, very low right now.
Yeah, I agree with all of this actually, because I'm also not a huge Karl Anthony Towns guy. He seems to have a weird energy.
It's weird, yeah.
Just seems to be a weird guy. I'm okay with you believing up here that you're the greatest shooting big man of all time.
You start
totally fine with it.
He says,
but when you start saying it at this point in your career, when it's very easy for anyone like me to just point at, like, say, I don't know, Dirk Nowitzki and be like, get out of here, dude. Like, honestly, at this point, I might put Brooke Lopez up against Karl Anthony Towns as far as who do I want shooting a three that's 7 feet tall.
Hell yeah.
Right? Like, you're not even the best shooting big man in the NBA right now.
No way. Bud.
So again, I like to believe that I'm the best bald-headed NBA analyst in the world, but I do a podcast with James, so I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best bald.
I'll let you take it. Go ahead and get it out.
Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying here? You should think very highly of yourself. I'm all about having the confidence, but you should also maybe know when to say it. I think Karl Anthony Towns could use a change of scenery. I am all about get and help. And again, I will continue to say it and beat that drum. I think Anthony Edwards is a big part of the future of the NBA.
His playoff run averaged 31.6. I think his playoff run was awesome. He was really good.
He looks, I might get some tomatoes for this. His game reminds me of a young Michael Jordan, except he's a little more muscular. Like he just, and I think it's one of those things where he emulated it. So he probably watched a lot of highlight, and those moves kind of like Kobe. They look Jordan-esque for a reason. Because that's the tape he was watching. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to turn into Michael Jordan. I'm just saying I could see, if we see the perimeter game polish and all that stuff, I think we have yet to see the full potential of the
he's young and he's only going to get better. Absolutely.
The game is different now, thanks to Cat. Go ahead. Where were we going? We were transitioning, but where are we going?
We were talking Suns, and I think the Suns, because of Eric Gordon, have done a really good job of filling out a roster with no money. The best you can. You know, that's they signed a lot of other they did Damian Lee, Keita Bates Diop, Yuta Watanabe, Drew Eubanks. is it Chimezi Metu? I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah.
And then they just signed Bol, our boy. So
Yeah, Bol. Yeah.
he's gonna turn into the next Kevin Durant playing next
We
to
have
him.
Victor Wembanyama at home.
Yep, exactly.
There we
had him
go.
the whole time.
So let's talk about another Western team. This not only did this team land one of your favorite players,
Yes,
but they
yes,
also
did. Trev's
landed
favorite player.
Yeah, Trev's favorite player, one of our favorite NBA draft prospects this year, someone that we were both pretty high on that wound up winning the MVP of the Summer League. So let's talk Houston Rockets. Let's start, if you'd like, with your boy Fred VanVleet. He's not the only addition that they've made, but between him, Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith Jr., who some people kind of forget about, who at one point was the unanimous number 1 overall pick up until about 2 days before the draft when it flipped to Paolo. I don't know. How are you hyped for the Rockets? Are they ready for their ascension, James?
I don't think they're ready for their ascension just yet. But I like what I like bringing Fred in. Dylan Brooks coming in at that kind of money is scary, but they needed some veteran leadership on this team. Like they got a bunch of young guys.
That's a double fail then. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was good. I love the Fred hire that he can come in and show these guys how it's done because they've got a lot of young talent that hasn't figured it out yet. Fred obviously is the ultimate success story, undrafted to NBA champion to all of a sudden he's a max player.
Yeah.
He can play off the ball. I really like bringing him in. I actually do like bringing Brooks in. I'm on record as saying I think Brooks took a lot of unnecessary heat in Memphis. Now he acted a fool in the playoffs, but I think they pinned a lot of the blame on him when it wasn't his fault. Ja Morant was being a knucklehead.
Oh, that's fair. I think his how do they say it back in the day? His chickens came home to roost. That's how I feel about Dylan Brooks. I feel like every once in a while, if karma's not able to get you back for all of your transgressions individually, you'll just get a big old heaping scoop of it to catch up to you. So that's kind of how I felt about it. One of those, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. But you're not wrong, I think, in that, he poked the bear. That's not what lost them that series. But I do think that both parties needed a change of scenery. So I think Memphis needed to move away from whatever Dylan Brooks was helping them build as their identity. Dylan Brooks needs a chance to build a new identity somewhere else.
Yes.
I hate that price though. I think that's a huge
pretty
overpay.
Big price. Now they've got the money and they've got
for a 3-and-D guy who's light on the three.
He's very inefficient. They did bring in John's boy Jacques Landale, 4-year, $32 million deal. So I do like what they did. I don't think they're ready to make the jump yet. I mean, you're talking they did only win 22 games last year, but I guess they're only 20 away from the play-in. So I think Fred turns them around. They could have a winning record this year, which if they have a winning record, they might make it. So I really like it. And then you bring up this name, the free faller. They got him at 20. I had him going 6 in the draft, and I missed that.
Steal.
Concerns with him, whatever you want to say. He was – Kev, I'm also going to say I can't believe they're giving out MVPs and championship trophies in the Summer League. It's oh, my God.
Back in my day. That's a very new generation thing, right?
Yes, back in my day.
Get a trophy for some. Hey, I mean, I guess that's cool.
He may be the steal, man. He was better than who else did they draft? They draft ahead of him?
Oh, shoot. We might have to pull that one up. I can't remember who it was. It was a Thompson twin, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
What did they have?
Yeah, it was
4. Did they get Amen at 4?
So I'm looking up right now. I think they got Amen. Let's see here.
But yeah,
they got Amen Thompson at 4. Yep.
They summer league MVPs. We will. You know what? Actually, we're just going to insert the summer league takeaway into this one because I know that we're not going to talk about it for a long amount of time, and we're talking about Cam Whitmore and the Rockets now. So now it just feels like a good team to talk about summer league. because we
They gave them
both
boys
have
a championship trophy.
they got a championship trophy as well. That's great.
Oh my
I've taken the same approach to summer league as I take to the preseason in the NFL, which is my opinion is that and the offseason, the team that wins the offseason rarely wins the championship. You know why? Because they had to be really bad to improve so much. And the team that wins the preseason probably not going to mean that they are going to the playoffs or whatever. It means nothing because at the end of the day, it just means that their third and fourth stringers, a lot of guys who are getting cut, are better than the other team's guys that are getting cut. And the really good teams don't play anyone that's worth playing, right? So you see a lot of really good teams in preseasons just getting dominated.
Yep.
So, and I see, I look at guys like Chris Duarte for Indiana who hit 6 to 7 buzzer beaters in summer league, and we all thought was going to be a pretty big get. And I still think he can benefit from his change of scenery in Sacramento. He was in a very clogged backcourt in Indianapolis, but it does not translate. He was not shooting a high percentage after that. So, it's just summer league is summer league. You're not playing against NBA talent. I was talking to Danny Thompson on the Hall About Sports podcast, and he's been an NBA writer for years. And he's saying they have guys that you see every single summer league, and they'll score 20 a night. And you start to, why? Because there's not a lot of pro talent there, because most of the young guys, maybe Victor will play, maybe Chet will play because he missed a whole year.
Yep.
But guess what? Victor got shut down pretty quickly.
Yep.
The Cam Whitmore, honestly, it's kind of a surprise that he didn't get shut down, right? Like with his injury concerns.
Yeah, he's got the knee concerns. Yeah, and then you see those injuries like Scoot got hurt his shoulder. Amen Thompson did. He's that's why I don't remember him. He sprained his ankle. He got taken out. Like,
yep,
it sucks. Like, but there's a lot to. You want him to play, but there's a lot to lose too.
Yeah, so we don't put a ton of stock in it. Do you have any takeaways or anything that caught your eye from summer league other than Cam Whitmore or anything about Victor?
It was great to see. Well, let me talk about Victor. I love that everybody jumped off the bandwagon after one bad game.
Yeah, of course.
That was typical for him to have 27-12 the next game, and just it's going to take some time, like take some pressure off of doing that. But it's a different level of athleticism. It's a different game. It's a different country. It's going to take some time. I still think he wins Rookie of the Year. I'm not worried about Victor at all. Very exciting to see Chet Holmgren.
Victor versus Chet, Rookie of the Year.
Chet had a 25, 9, and 5 game. He blocks. Did you see the clip of him talking to Kevin Garnett? I said I mixed Durant and Garnett together. Kevin Garnett, and he's talking about him blocking all the shots, and he goes, I learned it from somebody, and he just points right at him.
I did. So, yeah, I did see that clip on Twitter. It was great. Big KG fan here as well. I know we have one in the chat as well.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the highlights of my journalism career, was getting to write about Kevin Garnett going into the Hall of Fame. That was cool. It grew up with not one but 2 Sports Illustrated for Kids Kevin Garnett posters in my garage.
I like that.
Yeah.
So very excited for the young guys. Very excited to see Chet, Victor get Scoot out. The Thompson twins. Brandon Murray had a good couple games there. So a lot of young talent that looked good, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So we will move on from the Summer League back to a team that made some improvements, and James is here to keep me honest, because otherwise things might get
this is not a Pacer Stands account.
A little out of hand. So the Indiana Pacers, we mentioned Chris Duarte. He was traded to the Sacramento Kings for a couple of second-round picks. Ultimately, when you look at the moves that were made, he was traded essentially for Obi Toppin and Bruce Brown of NBA championship fame. Shocked me. I had no idea the Pacers were even in the running for this. So I still there are still some days I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, Bruce Brown's a Pacer, huh? Like,
yes,
it still doesn't feel real to me that that's a thing. So I, for one, am very excited, James. The idea of Tyrese Halliburton being able to throw lobs to Obi Toppin. This is one of those weird, put it in a laboratory. I think it works really well. Now, acknowledging that the play styles are very different, this Obi Toppin acquisition reminds me of when the Pacers got Jermaine O'Neal from Portland. He was buried on the bench at the power forward spot because they just had better talent in front of him. And he came to Indiana and got the playing time. And when he grew into the role, he became an all-star. Obi Toppin, the reason I say that, he's one of the best transition finishers in the Eastern Conference. And he is now going to play with one of the best transition offenses in the Eastern Conference. So we are talking about a match made in basketball heaven.
It's very fun.
And I just need you here to keep me reasonable, because I am thinking Bruce Brown on the defense, Obi Toppin out in transition with the growth of Andrew Nembhard. I don't know Buddy Hield if he's still going to be on the squad. Miles Turner is around despite every Lakers beat writer still putting him in trade rumors pieces. So what do you think? But realistically, what do you think the Pacers team is going to do with all these new toys in this admittedly still difficult Eastern Conference?
Oh, yeah, let's go here. I think they're playoff team for sure. Like, I'm going to go out and say it. I love Bruce Brown coming off a championship season with Denver where he was a huge piece. I hate that they lost him. I love Obi coming in. Him playing with Tyrese Halliburton is a lot of fun. There's going to be some broken rims somewhere. And like you said, you get him into an offense that better fits his needs. And then his limited time, remember when Julius Randle was out and he was playing full time towards the end? He averaged like 21 and 8 a game.
Played very well.
So the hope is for them specific. It's just it was a bad fit and he needs an opportunity. Like, I love it. I was a big Obi fan coming out of college, and I hope it works. I really do like him.
Same. And bias admitted. You see the big Columbus flag behind me. A kid from Dayton,
Oh God.
It still gets talked about in certain circles amongst my friends now, college basketball fans, about how robbed that 2020 Dayton Flyers team was.
I will stand by that. That team got robbed of an all-time opportunity, and I don't know if Dayton will ever have that opportunity again. They had the best offense in the nation. They lost 2 games. Fun fact for you, Kev: we played them game 1 of the season at Dayton and had a 3 to tie it at the end of the game. We played them closer than anybody. So we played them closer than anybody all year, except the 2 teams that beat them.
Wow! Look at that. See?
Our season did not go as well as theirs.
Well, you'll have that. Yeah. But yeah, that team, I mean, there's that team. Part of me also thinks that Kansas Jayhawks team in 2020 would have been who they lost to in Maui would have been a very awesome rematch in the tournament. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Obi Toppin, which is difficult to do when he goes and plays for the New York Knicks. As a Pacers fan, it's been difficult to root for him. So now it's going to get very easy. So I am excited. I'll give my assessment, my buy, because as the longtime viewers and my friends know, I'm actually the ultimate pessimist as a fan. My Colts podcast brethren, they have a hard time dealing with me. I'm really the one.
Uniform. They
Oh God, black and blue. Black and blue is a good choice, boys.
That was great. Such a great tweet.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the Pacers are a playoff team. I don't know that they'll be out of the play-in. I'm afraid they might still be a play-in team, but there are a few teams in the East that I expect to take a dip. We've talked about 2 of them already: Toronto, Chicago. I'm not certain that those guys get anywhere near the 4, 5, 6 range. I think they're going to be in play-in territory. What is Washington going to look like, right? They've been a play-in team. Charlotte might actually be a little bit better. They've been they've been around the play-in bubble for the last couple of years. So I don't know. I could see the Pacers still being that 7 or 8 seed and having to be in a play-in game, but I genuinely think they've got playoff potential on this roster. It's just about if they figure it out. And
Mathurin needs to take a good jump. They got to kind of figure out the rotation with Mather and Heald. Bruce Brown can play a lot of those spots now.
Yep. They might want to move off from McConnell because they have Nemhard, who's grown a lot.
And he's young. He's right out of college, second year.
You're running out of minutes, because Brown could play there too as well. So
yeah. I think you're going to hear an astronomical amount of Buddy Heald rumors too. I think that's coming because he's in the last year of his contract. That's going to get real annoying.
I don't believe that's correct, but we'll put it out there. We'll keep us honest.
Mr. Shuey himself, Nate.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, thank you, Nate, for your comment. And yeah, shout out. We are live streaming. We have viewers on all 3 channels right now, James. That's pretty cool. So YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Everybody's watching live. We appreciate all of you guys that are tuned in. Ask us a question. Let us know. We've got about 14 minutes. So normally this isn't a time show. We normally run as long as we want.
Time tonight.
James has some things to do. And I've got a Mindless Mania Boxing Series 6 to call tomorrow night. So I've got to get my go bag ready. We actually use this lovely webcam right here.
You got to take it all with you.
Little inside the huddle for you guys. See how I'm referring to old sports shows back here. We get to use my webcam. That's a pay-per-view quality webcam right there. So we love you too, Nate. Shout out. We appreciate you, man. Look forward to doing some content with you as well soon. All right, what do we got left on our slate? We talked about the Rockets. We talked about the Pacers. Nate has a question while I look at that. Boom, hot question. What team is the best team in NBA history? Maybe we might need to noodle on that one for a minute, right, James? Do you need to think about that one for a second, or do you have a quick answer?
Oh, man. Quick answer is the Bulls. The 97 Bulls that had the most wins until
and won the title.
Best regular season team is the Golden State team that didn't win the title.
Right.
Problem is they forgot something along the way.
Oh man, it is that team. Here, you know what?
It's my easy one to go with.
I'll give you a bonus. The best team to never win a title was either the 01 or 02 Sacramento Kings.
Oh, they were so good. Bobby Jackson, Peja, Hedo, Mike Bibby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Doug Christie. Yeah, man. And do we even say C-Web yet and Vlade Divac?
Yeah. 2 of the best players on the team.
Yeah.
Oh man, that I remember them getting screwed by the Lakers.
Just amazing. Yeah, we just named 12 guys. And I mean, then they had, like their 11th guy was like Scott Foster, who still, you know what I mean? Like still played.
They were
10 years in the NBA.
So good. Like, so good. God, they got screwed.
That or the 03-04 Malice at the Palace Pacers team that very
never got to play.
Yeah, that very easily could have been in that NBA Finals instead of Detroit.
I agree with this take, Nate. That should have been Sacramento's title.
Yep. I mean, you go check out some YouTube videos about that if you want.
Yeah, I agree with that. Which so you got me down on a random rabbit hole here that I just thought of, Kev.
Gerald Wallace, that's right, young Gerald Wallace. Oh my God,
he was on that team.
Yeah, but he had not. He was like in his first form. He had not evolved into all-star for the Bobcats, Gerald Wallace. But I do believe maybe a Corliss Williamson in there. I don't remember if he hit the timeline.
If I had a time machine,
ooh yeah,
if I had a time machine, I'd go back and have a cigar and a beer with Red Auerbach, preferably during a game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because he would be smoking a cigar on the court. Probably one of those Showtime Lakers teams are in there when you think about that.
Stellar team.
Because you have, through sheer luck, I mean, you've got 3 Hall of Famers because they were able to add Worthy. I can't remember the trade that allowed them to get Worthy, but they got Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then you've got perennial also. You got Michael Cooper. You got Byron Scott, who is known more as a coach these days, but he was a solid player in his own right. I mean, they were very deep. And then also those 80s, when you get those 80s Celtics teams that had Parrish, Mikhail Bird, but then they had Danny Ainge and they had the old Bill Walton on the bench. Those are some really deep. Dennis Johnson. Dennis Johnson is a forgotten name, but that dude, I believe, was an all-star for the Supersonics before he came over.
There are some good. That's the thing. Those are just so long ago.
Yeah, you have And it's tough because I grew up on that, because I grew up in an era, I don't know about you, James, ESPN Classic was a big part of my after school. So I know more about some of these teams that I never got to see, because I got to watch that longest finals game ever between, what was it, like the Celtics and the Suns or whatever. It was like a triple overtime finals game. And I had to watch these things growing up and just see that stuff. And so I have a different appreciation, I think, for some of these historical teams. That Bulls team was so dominant. It's hard to not just give it to them because they actually did win the championship on top of those 72 games. But I think there are a ton of teams you can make some arguments for. So that's a great conversation. Thank you, Nate, for that. That was a good one.
So I had the random thought in the middle of all this. What are your thoughts on the NBA's mid-season tournament, their European-style soccer tournament?
Thanks. Hate it. I love it. It's so weird because I don't hate it for football or for soccer, as we put it here. Maybe it's just because it already existed when I got into soccer, because that's where this is coming from.
Yeah, it came from Europe. Adam Silver.
Most soccer leagues do this. Yeah, they have like some kind of cup play that you have outside of your actual playoffs. The MLS does it. Yeah. And it just gives every team a second chance to have something to play for. The problem is, without there being other leagues, like this could maybe work for the G League if you did some like overtime elite versus the G League versus some European young teams, Canadian team. You could maybe do something like that. For this, my issue with this, James, is the teams that have the best, most expensive players are not going to play their players for this tournament. So what's going to be the point? And then the teams that are bad and young are going to be trying to tank, right? So who has what incentive to win these games?
This thing. I agree.
I think it's going to be some of the worst basketball we see all season.
They count, right? Like, don't the games count?
I believe they do.
I do think they count for the regular season stand. Like, I can't.
But also, then how does that work? They at a certain point they can't.
I have to look into it. I don't know.
The championship game can't count, can it? Because then
maybe the group stages count.
How do you make up for it? Because like you said, the tournament play can't count. You're right. Group stages might.
Group stages might count. I haven't done a deep dive on it. Group stages.
Otherwise, it's going to whack out all of the standings, and I don't know.
I'm not a fan of it.
I'm always a fan of trying to change things. That's why, despite my dislike of the Colts' new uniforms, thank God they did something new.
You know what?
For 50 goddamn years, they've trotted out the same uniform.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers?
With nothing. It's so boring. There have been years in my younger days I contemplated picking a new team because goddamn, just looking at the ugliest jerseys every year is kind of depressing.
I do like the Titans made a switch a few years ago. Like they've made multiple switches in the last 25 years.
Or the Jags. The Jags have had some of the ugliest jerseys of all time, but they're not all ugly, and you can at least know that they're going to change after a year or two. The Colts are just like, oh, that's tradition, man.
Tradition.
You guys like it because you're boring corn folk, so we'll just give you blue and white.
That's Nebraska Cornhuskers right there, red and white, that same end for forever. It's legacy now. They can't do anything. I weirdly like the Colts helmets. I like the helmets. I hate the jersey. I think the jerseys are awful.
All blue. I wouldn't mind the jerseys if they did something different with the pants. Like the blue out or whatever it is. Like it's just all blue. I don't mind the heathered.
It's the Thursday night football from a few years ago. The Color Rush games.
Exactly. That's what it felt like. It felt like a crappy Color Rush. It reminds me, and then with the black and blue helmet, it just makes us look like the Duke Blue Devils. Because that's their only all.
Today, and I was like, wow.
Damn, dude. Like we're just Duke. Like I hope we bring Deion Jackson back.
Tennessee's announcing their uniforms on Saturday, and the Colts are about to get blown out of the water.
It's going to be bad. I bet Houston fans are going to be butthurt too, right?
How mad are Houston fans going to be when DeAndre Hopkins is catching passes in their stadium, and then wearing an Oilers uniform?
Whoops, little NFL detour there, but I love it.
We're both off. We neither of us like the in-season tournament. That's great. Good to know. We can complain about it when it's coming along.
Absolutely, 100% with you there. Now, the last topic that we have on the schedule, and I have one more that I think we'll have plenty of time to fit in. Thank you, Lee. We appreciate you. So you talked about the in-game season, it was always the Nuggets. I
Always the
saved this
Nuggets.
one. I've
I
just been
love it.
leaving this one up
Always
here.
the Nuggets.
So is this Denver's to lose? Is Denver still the favorite? It's way too early, so it's time for us. Might as well get our
Let's
too
get our
early prediction out
Everybody
there.
else has done them already. We're late.
Before I ask you about our bonus topic, what do you got? Is it Denver's championship to win, or will the loss of Bruce Brown be too much for them?
I will stand by it's their championship still to win. I think Christian Braun will fill some of those minutes. They drafted Julian Strother. They signed. I was just looking. I read over theirs because I knew this question was coming. They signed Reggie Jackson re-signed. They signed Justin Holiday. Listen, they still have the two most important players on that team.
That's correct.
I was going to say Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray. And
He's fourth. He's
to
fourth because they showed they can win an NBA Finals without him making a single shot.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon is third, in my opinion, because he's a matchup nightmare.
Bruce Brown losing him sucks, but they bring 4 of their 5 starters back. And hopefully Nikola Jokic makes it back. He could still be on the parade in the Denver streets right now, for all I know.
I need to go home.
So until proven otherwise, my 2023-24 NBA champions, I'm going with the Nuggets to repeat.
Give me Milwaukee.
I like that pick.
It's Denver's conference to lose, but give me Denver, Milwaukee in the championship. We need to see it. We need to see the two best teams
with
playing.
Best young superstars.
I want to see Denver, Phoenix in the finals because I do believe Western Conference Finals, and then I want to see probably Boston, Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, that'd be fun too. Yep.
And I would be very happy. So there we go. I have a bonus question for you, James. So starting tomorrow, July 21st, I will not get to watch it live because I'll be calling some boxing fights. Slam Ball has returned. Will you be watching it? I'll be covering it on Late Night Bites at the very least, but are you going to be watching? Are we going to be talking about Slam Ball here on The Bounce?
I got to watch some. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be scared for their knees, man. All I'm going to be worried about is ACLs getting exploded.
Yeah. Hopefully it's all young.
I forget that's coming back.
I'm with you because when we were young, it was all young dudes playing Slam Ball, and now I'm worried it's going to be a bunch of guys in their mid-30s with nostalgia for it, seeing this as an opportunity to be a pro athlete, because now there's Olympic 3-on-3, there's the big 3, there's the TBT that's going on right now. There's tons of ways for guys who are good at basketball to get a couple checks doing it. So I'm worried that Slam Ball might have some guys, as you said, who are maybe a little older. I wonder if we'll have anyone who returns from the original running.
We'll have to kind of look and dig into that a little bit.
Do a little deep dive. So look out for a Slam Ball update from us, but also you can check out all of our live shows. We got Necessary Roughness, the NFL show on Tuesday, Another Damn Fantasy podcast Wednesday nights, us right here on The Bounce Thursday nights. We've also got Biting Early on Friday mornings and Rumbles of Red on Friday afternoon. And I have a new one to announce. I will be doing a Carnage Media combat sports podcast. Our good friends at Carnage Media, we do these pay-per-views monthly. We're going to start having a weekly podcast where we talk about not only the events that we covered from the week prior, but we talk about the biggest news in UFC and maybe even some wrestling, anything and everything in the world of combat sports. And that will be Carnage Unleashed every Monday on Carnage Media's YouTube channel. And I believe we will be simulcasting it here on Bite Size Sports. But either way, Bite Size Sports is a sponsor, an official sponsor of Mindless Mania Boxing Series 6, which goes live tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Carnage Media. So go check out their Twitter or Facebook. You can scan the QR code if you want to buy the pay-per-view and hear me talking about the fights as they go on. But yes, we've got a new podcast. We are a proud sponsor of it. We will bring it to you, whether it is live on one of these 3 platforms or if we have to share carnage to you. So yeah, we're very excited about that. I'm happy to announce that. I'm proud I got to announce it. Carnage Unleashed. Look for us coming to your ears very soon. James, while we're here, we've hit the hour mark. It's time to go.
Yeah.
Where can the good folks find you?
Right there, buddy.
Yeah.
Pretty much all my socials. We do have one last thing to talk about, Kev.
Perfect.
Who has won the offseason?
Who has won the offseason? For those of you listening on our Spotify, Apple, iTunes feed, you can find James at Schmeitz06. You can find
so much smarter than
the
me.
winner of the offseason. Darn it, I already know who yours is going to be. So I'm going to be a homer and pick the Indiana Pacers. Boom.
I do like that. I do
Indiana
like that.
Pacers, Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin, steal the draft, future Jermaine O'Neal like Esquisition.
Oh my God, we're not a
acquisition. Let's
Pacers
go.
fans account, I promise, guys.
Doesn't happen very often. Normally I'm beating them up.
My free agent winners, my offseason winners so far, and I hate this. I hate that I must say this. I want to punch myself for saying this. It's so stupid. It is the Los Angeles Lakers. I hate it.
If you hadn't have said it, I would have. So
yeah.
If it makes you feel any better.
Resign Austin Reeves. Sign Gabe Vincent off the Heat from a final or a championship or a finals run. Resign Hachimura. Got Cam Reddish, who's still really young. 1-year deal, Taurean Prince. Get Jackson Hayes as a backup big, and somehow you still find a way to keep D'Angelo Russell. Get him re-signed.
I like Jackson Hayes.
It. They kept going from what they did at the trade deadline, keeping a lot of those guys. I hate it, but I really like what the Lakers did. They could be dangerous next year.
I like it. They would have been my non-biased choice, but I knew you had already picked them based on a little hint from earlier in the show, and I was like, well, I'll just pick my boys.
Yeah. Now, their biggest problem, Lakers' problem, will always be is their health. It depends on LeBron and AD. Like if they're not healthy, they're no good. They're not good.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there we have it, folks. You can find me on Twitter at @KevNevick_. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff at Bite Size Sports. So we'll be here next week. We'll be here live next week. And then I think Thursday it might be a pre-recorded, or maybe we'll go live on Wednesday. Not really sure.
We'll figure that out.
We are gearing up. Get ready. I also, one last little announcement. I've got an exclusive. We are covering, speaking of basketball, I have to talk about this here, James, before we go. Legacy Leagues. Look them up on Twitter. Look them up on YouTube. They are Connecticut and Rhode Island's only basketball league played on 8.5-foot rims. I've been in contact with their social media manager. They have sent me some highlights. We are doing a little special presentation focusing on their league for Late Night Bites. So it's that one will probably also be pre-recorded, but I will be in the chat hanging out with you when we live premiere it. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. Please, if you have the time, go check out Legacy Leagues on Twitter, on YouTube, and let them know that Kev from Bite Size Sports sent you, because I would love to inquire about doing their live commentary, because they live stream their games. They have a recap show. They don't currently have a play-by-play guy. So, I'm going to try to make some friends here. And I would really love it if you guys could go support that league. I also think it's cool that dudes like me and you can go hoop and yam on an 8.5-foot rim in a league. Like they do everything.
Explode, but
full stats. Like they track stats. They do everything. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I really like what this league is doing. It's something I believe in. I don't know these folks personally, but they were kind enough to reach out to me because I kept blowing up their. I found them randomly on Twitter, and as you can tell, I'm really into this league. So I would like and retweet and quote tweet their stuff. They DM'd me just to say thanks, and I said, you want to be on the show? Let's just talk about, I was already going to cover them. So I had them send me their own personal selection of their favorite highlights. They're 6 weeks into their season.
That's awesome.
So they sent us some stuff on their Instagram. So be on the lookout for that, guys. Legacy Leagues. We've got some more hoop coverage for you coming in the coming weeks. That content will be out in the next couple of days as soon as I get done calling boxing fights tomorrow. All right. Anyway, I have to go. We're keeping James up late. All right. He's got things to do. We love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in.
Till next time, folks.